Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a injury update of the players that just came back from international break. In fact, I think there's still maybe a few more games happening this week before they return to their domestic clubs. However, some players has already returned due to some injuries. So, to be honest, I haven't really been watching the international games. I don't know. I just haven't had any time to watch the international games. But let me know if you've been watching any games. Is there any standout fixtures, or is there still a standout fixture that you will be watching? And let me know what really happened or took place in terms of the gameplays. Nevertheless, we'll be doing an injury update for this video or today's video. So if we kick off today's video, we're going to be obviously reviewing the players that play in the Premier League. Of course, the Premier League is the league that I do reviews on, whether it's pre or post match reviews or any roundups or anything like that. So the Premier League is my go-to for reviews and so on. So of course, if we look at the first team, Arsenal, Martin Ødegaard, the captain of Arsenal midfield, is expected to be out for about plus minus 6 weeks with a medical collateral injury. Uh, to his ligaments. Obviously, that's a MCL injury in his left knee. You know, knee injuries are never good injuries. It can really make or break a player's season or even their entire career. So I don't really like these knee injuries, but I guess it's part and parcel of the game. Um, so yeah, obviously the next players that are also on Arsenal's injury list, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz, and Noni Madueke is also on that injury list. So s- uh, it's going to be a interesting test to see how Arsenal manages, especially in that midfield. We know that Martin Odegaard really controls the tempo and carries the ball nicely, and is that creative player in that final third for Arsenal. So that's really not too good, seeing that Odegaard is injured. I know that he suffered, was it an ankle injury? I think last year, but I think he's fully recovered from that injury. But nevertheless, it's now a MCL injury. Let me know what is the difference between an MCL injury and an ACL injury. I would assume that the ACL injury is that more severe injury, if I can put it that way. But like I said, injuries are never a good thing. And of course, us as the end consumers, the people that watch football, we want to see the best quality of football and players at their best. So it's never a good thing. And that's why I guess some football clubs are not really keen or happy with players going on international duty. And look, I get it. I understand that players do want to represent their clubs on an international level. So yeah, we cannot stop them from playing these international games. And I mean, also for us, we look forward to the Euros or the World Cups or African Cup of Nations or any continental um, competitions that take place. Of course, next year is the World Cup 2026 in the USA. So I'm really looking forward to that competition to really see um, all these young new players coming up and how they perform on the international level. And speaking on the international level, being that I am in South Africa and our national team is Bafana Bafana, I think that means the boys, if you translate that directly. But things hasn't been looking so good recently. I know that we were hit with that 3 point deduction for that fielding Tabiso Mukwena. In my opinion, that shouldn't have happened. It would have really saved us a lot of trouble. Um, and also looking at the game that happened on Friday, we really had an opportunity, to really cement our qualification and our position in the World Cup, to qualify, of course. But it seems like we just made it more difficult for us. I think we've got one more game. I think it's happening this week, and then we'll really know the fate of this Bafana Bafana team if they will be qualifying for the World Cup. Of course, it's been a long time since Bafana Bafana played in the World Cup. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was 2010 which is quite a long time ago. And remember, 2010, the World Cup was in South Africa. So by default, seeing that they were the host nation, they automatically qualified for the World Cup. So yeah, let's see what happens to Bafana and the qualification. I'll definitely be watching that game. Let me know if you will also be watching the game as well. So yeah, of course, Odegaard's absence is a significant blow for Arsenal's creativity, that leadership, and also that midfield balance. So Arteta will probably lean more to Eberechi Eze as well as to Ethan Waneri, or reshuffle the midfield to cover that void of Martin Odegaard. I do honestly think that this is a great opportunity for Eze. We already know what he's capable of doing um, in games. We know his qualities. We've seen what he's done at Crystal Palace. I really like Crystal. I mean, Eberechi as a player. I think he's a fantastic player. Playing that advanced midfield role. I think he can play as a 10. So this is a big opportunity for him and to see what he can bring to this Arsenal team. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think I might actually add him into my fantasy Premier League team as well. Um, in fact, you know that Crystal Palace team, I know I'm just going off topic a little, but I think there was a point where they really had a decent squad with Eze in there, Olise in there. Um, but yeah, I guess things are what it is. But nevertheless, let's see how Arteta manages Eze, and how he integrates Eze into this team. I know that Arsenal fans were really going on about him not actually starting because, in my opinion, he's a starting player. He should be starting for Arsenal, I think. So, yeah, let's see what happens there. Then, of course, we're moving on to Manchester City's injury update. In my opinion, I think Manchester City has the most injuries. We've got Mamouche, Cherki, Kovacic, Ait Nouri, Kuzanov had some issues. John Stones, Vadio, um, also had some issues. Omar Mamouche sustained a knee injury while on international duty, I think since the last time. So he's been out for quite a while. I think that he's still got a couple of weeks left. But we know when players are injured, they're not going to come back on the level that they were. You know, some people or some players are just better than other players. So let's see how Marmoush returns to the team. As you know, when you suffer maybe a knee injury, for example, then of course you're not training at the intensity levels that you normally do. So then your other muscles might not be prepped, like your hamstring or your calf. So then that's what normally happens. You come back from a knee injury, then you play a couple of games, and then you get injured again. This time it's maybe a calf injury or a hamstring injury, groin, or whatever the case may be. Same with Rodri. He's had a knee injury ruling him out for the entire season last year. And I think when he got an injury just before the international break, I think it was a hamstring injury. So yeah, injuries are never a good thing on these players. Of course, Cherky had a thigh injury, so he was ruled out for 2 months. But I do see him traveling with the team, so I think he'll be back sooner. It just depends on how quick he can get back. Of course, Mateo Kovacic was out with the Achilles injury. He still remains unavailable. So yeah. In fact, I really hope that all these Manchester City players are back come the midpoint, come December. And then we can really see where Manchester City stands in terms of the title race or the title challenge when all players are injury free or the entire squad are injury free. And then I think it's just a matter of Pep managing players, game time, rotating players, and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of competitions, and everybody in that team will play. It's just a matter of when they will play. The key factor is, or the most important thing is for them to be fit and ready when called up for one. Um, Ryan Nouri had a knock and an ankle issue the last time. He is our left back that we brought into the team. I'm really eager to see how he links up with Haaland, giving those crosses on the wide area. So I'm really eager to see how he, fully integrates into the team. Kuzanov as well had a knock, I think a calf injury as well. Um, I think there's questions on him in that right back position. I know that Mateus Nunes is occupying that right back position. Rico Lewis, I don't think he occupies that position as much. I think Mateus Nunes is the number one, I would think, in that position. But I think that Kuzanov could also make it work out in that position. So let's see how Pep manages that right back position. We know that the left back, we've been struggling for some time now to get the left back. And it's just so unfortunate that Ryan Aitnouri is now injured. But I guess it's gonna take some adjusting for Ryan Aitnouri, especially in that left back position. But I trust Pep to figure it out. Of course, John Stones is always a doubt. I think he's at that age where he's more injury prone, so he can pick up injuries much easier or faster. But I really hope that, like I said, come the midpoint, that these players are ready, um, fit and ready to take on the second half of the season. But let's see what happens. So of course, City's squad depth will be tested, especially if multiple players are unavailable concurrently. So we'll see what happens with the rotation there. And of course, losing Mamouche the forward and Cherky wing reduces attacking and rotation in those areas. And I know that we've seen some glimpse of Cherky, what he can bring. He's an exciting player, a maverick player, that can do something in that final third. He just makes it look easy. He just makes it looks easy in that position. My point of view, looking at the signings that we made over the summer, I think that actually Reinders is the one to watch because he's that box to box number 8 midfield type player, and Chucky is more that creative, free roaming type player. It would really be interesting to see how he performs in the Champions League, especially against these big teams, Real Madrid, and so on, PSG. So yeah, I'm eager to see how he performs in those competitions. Actually, then of course, midfield and defensive cover need to be managed carefully, especially with Kovacic out for a long term. But I trust Pep to figure it out as well. Moving on to Manchester United, Lisandro Martinez still remains out, ACL injury sustained earlier in the season. Of course, he's a defender, and it's interesting to see how Ruben Amorim will manage that defensive back line. I know that he's got a couple of options there in that back line. He got Lenny Yoro. He's got obviously Harry Maguire in those positions. But I think, especially with that centre back, left and right centre back, those pairings, that shouldn't be changed too much because that would really, solidify, positions, the players' positions, that centre back pairing, and that partnership as well. So yeah, I mean, if you look at Arsenal and what they've established there with Gabriel and Saliba, I think they're a fantastic centre back partnership, and they've, I think, been the longest centre back partnership, consistent partnership, in the league. So that's a solid defense there. So yeah, I guess the only downside to that is when one player gets injured, how will the other player that replaces the other, really, pair into the team? I think that's the only risk factor there. But nevertheless, I think that Arsenal's got a solid defensive backline. Of course, Masraoui has been out with a knock, missed recent matches as well. His return is projected post international break, which was this current international break. So hopefully he'll be available for the fixture against Liverpool this weekend. So let's see what happens in that positions. Then of course another big one, Mateus Cunha has had some troubles with his hamstring. That injury was sustained during that Burnley game, and and has been working on his recovery since. So I expect him to be back soon as well. So United have relatively few injuries concerns compared to others in the list, though the loss of Martinez is long term and, and structural as well. Masraoui's return could strengthen that wing back options for Manchester United. So yeah, let's see how Manchester United and Ruben Amorim manage their injuries. The next team that we will be looking at is Chelsea, and their injuries. Still, Cole Palmer is expected to be sidelined until November because of a groin injury. You know that Chelsea is, Cole Palmer is Chelsea's creative player in that position as well. Let me just turn off this. Yeah. So Chelsea is that creative player as well in that position. So it will be interesting to see how Chelsea will cope up until then with Cole Palmer being out. Of course, Endo Fernandez withdrew early from Argentina squad due to a knee, some information on his knee. His return date is unclear. I think Endo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo has really been solid in that midfield position. So yeah, let's see how they manage the injury and the rotation in that position. But I think that he will be back. He might not start this weekend. He might come off the bench or maybe start from next weekend again. Of course, a usual suspect, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Reece James pulled out of England duty with a fresh injury again. Though reports indicate that it's not too serious of an injury, which may allow him to be fit for the coming weekend games. But we never know with Reece James. We know that he's a fantastic player, and I personally like him as a right back. I think he's up there with maybe top five best right backs for the Premier League. So it's interesting to see how he will manage his injury this year. I don't think, since he had his one major injury, I think a couple of seasons ago, I don't think he had a run of more than 10 consecutive games. So it will really be interesting to see how Chelsea manage Reece James' injury. Then, of course, Levi Corwell is undergoing a long-term recovery, suffering an ACL injury in the preseason. He's expected to be back late this season, hopefully towards the end of the season or possibly by preseason next year. So his season is basically over. I think that he has to prepare his mindset that he knows he's not going to play this entire season. So it's going to take a lot for him to get used to. Of course, Moises Caicedo, João Pedro are racing against time, of course, to be available, though they still also remain injured. But I think that they'll pull through. They'll probably make it for this week's Premier League fixtures. Again, Esteban Willian is also a doubt for the upcoming match this weekend. So yeah, let's see how Chelsea will manage their injuries. With this Esteban Willian, he kind of like reminds me of Willian, the Brazilian player that played for Arsenal, then eventually played for well, he actually played for Chelsea, then he played for Arsenal, and then he went over to Fulham. He kind of like reminds me, more smaller type player, the style of play, even the looks a little bit reminds me of Willian. But fantastic player. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him at Chelsea. So let's see how he turns out this season. Of course, Palmer's absence removes that key attacking options and creativity outlet for Chelsea. The combination of that midfield and defensive injuries is stretching, Chelsea's squad's resources. And then James' situation will really need to be assessed. But if he remains a useful presence for Chelsea as well. Of course, looking at Tottenham injury update, Bissouma was stretched off just seconds into his appearance for Mali on international break after a tackle, raising some serious concerns about his fitness and recovery. Um, Dejan Kulusevski, James Madison, Radu Dragusin are listed with knee injuries. It seems like this knee injury is really a thing now. There's quite a number of players that has knee injuries, and it's almost like like I said, knee injuries are I would think the biggest and the most common injuries that can really end a player's season or career. Sadly, and I really hope a knee injury doesn't end a player's career. To be honest with you, um, so yeah, it looks like there's a lot of knee injuries in the Premier League for players. Of course, Dominic Solanke has an ankle injury. He's also out. We're not sure when he will be back, but he's been out for quite some time now. So I do expect him to come back soon. But nevertheless, still a lot of players out for Tottenham. I think that's one, two, three, four, five players, five first team players. We know that Madison is a long term injury, also suffering a knee injury. I actually watched one of his videos on YouTube, kind of like a day in a life type of a thing. Um, so yeah, let's see how he manages his injuries as well. And yeah, that's basically it for the injury update for this video. Some key insights and risks to take note of: injuries sustained on international duty. It's not nice to see players get injured on international duty, because we know that they play most or majority of the games at club level. So, like I said, we really want to see, you know, it's impossible. We really want to see injury-free Premier League. I know that's a stretch. That's a very big stretch. But and the reason why I say that is because we want to see players at their best, going pound for pound. And if you look at as far as the title race, which is concerned, um, I mean, all teams has injuries. So I don't want to hear teams saying, we had injuries this, we had injuries that, and stuff like that. So, because all teams has injuries. So yeah, let's see how these injuries are managed, especially coming back from international duties. Of course, withdrawal and precautionary measures. Some players like Wataru Endo, Reece James, Endo Fernandez were withdrawn from squads or returned early due to injury or inflammations. I think part of it was just precautionary measures as well. So this speaks to caution management and fitness ahead of club obligations. So yeah, so we have to take precaution when it comes to these players. Then of course, return timing and reintegrations still remains a challenge for teams and players to see when these players are now cleared and fit to play. How will they be integrated into the team? Because of course, uh, player that just came from injury, you cannot just play him into a 90-minute game or an intense fixture. I think they need to be bedded in slowly, get their rhythm back in the games. So yeah, another key factor to look out for is momentum and momentum shifts. Um, so of course, a team like Liverpool, who are currently the champions, them having injuries that could really shift the momentum into the next team. I mean, we've seen how quick things can change in the Premier League. I mean, a week can really, mess up a lot of things. But then again, another week can really put you back up there and back in the conversation. So yeah, let's see how things work out. I know that injuries can shift momentums for players because these big teams rely on their big players. So I mean, look at even Van Dijk, for example, when he had that knee injury. When he came back, he wasn't really the same. It's just recently, I think the past year and a half, where we've really seen the Van Dijk that we remembered. Yes, he's probably not yet on that level that he was, or maybe he is already. It's just that maybe we're so used to him, playing in a certain way. Um, but yeah, let's see what happens. Then, of course, another key factor: squad depth. So there's clubs like Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Spurs. are already navigating multiple injuries. The international window often exposes the fragility of depth, especially in key moments of the season. Um, I think that's why maybe we've got a winter transfer window for these type of situations. So let's see who will go to the market first based off of injuries. Or what do you think? Who do you think will go into the winter transfer window market to buy? Out of these six teams that we discussed or were talking of, who do you think is most likely to go back into the winter transfer window to buy some players? So yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I will be dropping our next video later this week, which will be the Premier League preview. Of course, the Premier League is back this weekend. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for your support. For all the subscribers, we are on the road to 500 subscribers. I have a surprise giveaway that I will be giving out when we hit that milestone. I will announce it closer to the time, but for now, our next milestone, I think we about 12 subscribers off 200 subscribers. I'm really hoping to reach that target this week. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell so that you know when I'll be dropping that next video. Please share the video, like the video, because it really helps with the algorithm, gets it out there. Just to go a little bit off topic, we know that YouTube in South Africa, um, it's still building itself, especially from a monetary aspect and from from a content creators aspect. So I don't think we on the same level like the American country as well as the European or UK in terms of content creating. So we're fairly new, which does give us content creators a lot of opportunity. And in fact, there's opportunity for everyone. So compared to the US markets and the European markets, it can be a little bit maybe oversaturated, which also kills opportunities for new content creators. But I guess at the end of the day, it's how unique you are and what content you are pushing. So I think you'll still find your group of following. Um, but yeah, YouTube content creating in South Africa it's a little bit difficult because I guess the interest's not really there, especially when it comes to a channel like this, a sport channel or a football channel. You know, most of our football we watch in South Africa is European football. We don't really watch that much of our local football as much as European football. I mean, even if you go to the stadiums, I mean, you see the stadiums are half empty at our local games. I think what fills up the stadiums is concerts, basically. So yeah, I mean, even the stadiums right now, the tickets are very affordable, and it's also unreserved seating at that entire floor. So that just shows you that the support is not there as much as it should be. But I guess let's see um, how South Africa does with their qualification to the World Cup. I really hope that they can qualify so that we can see our team playing as well. And then also let me know in the comment section what do you think about a live preview or a live stream, maybe watching a particular game. I've got my eyes on like a Champions League final stream. Of course, I will be streaming some World Cup games as well. But let me know if you would like to see more streaming of live games. But again, this is the end of the video. Thank you so much once again, and I'll check you guys in the next video.